He predicted his own death, online, and no one believed him. A man installs a security camera, then spends weeks exposing what he swore was a police-led stalking operation. Days later, he's found dead, inside his burning home, bleeding, gasping, surrounded by unanswered warnings. Was it paranoia or proof stay until the end? Because what he filmed will make you question everything. John Christopher Lang never imagined that the decision to mount a simple security camera on the corner of his home would lead to one of the most disturbing and controversial deaths in modern California history. But that's exactly what happened in the suffocating heat of Fresno, a city already scarred by corruption whispers and dark undercurrents. His story is one that starts with suspicion, escalates with documentation, and ends in a house filled with smoke, silence, and unanswered screams. Before the inferno, before the blood and betrayal, John Christopher Lang was just a man, a former U.S. Marine, a computer technician, and a resident of the Roosevelt neighborhood in Fresno. He was quiet, solitary, and often kept to himself, except online, where he didn't just speak, he roared. His posts weren't about pets or politics or food. They were warnings. Warnings he claimed would save his life. Warnings nobody took seriously, until it was too late. It all began in 2015, on a warm January afternoon, when John walked into a local auto repair shop and noticed something odd. Parked just beyond the customer area were two unmarked cruisers. The men inside weren't wearing uniforms, but their posture, their clipped conversation through earpieces, and the way they avoided eye contact spoke volumes. John didn't trust it, and John Lang didn't let distrust rest. He began to investigate. He noticed a pattern. Cars parked in certain lots, specifically those of low-income service centers, would get scanned. Not for theft, not for registration, but for violations tied to outdated tickets or warrants. Anything that would justify a pullover. It was as if the moment a flagged plate beeped into their system, they'd wait. Just wait, like wolves stalking prey, until the driver returned, turned the ignition, and drove away. That's when the trap was sprung. Lights, sirens, arrests, fines, repeat. And John Lang, being John Lang, didn't keep it to himself. He exposed it, loudly. He took to Facebook, calling out the Fresno Police Department for what he referred to as a coordinated, quota-based racket designed to bleed the vulnerable. He didn't stop there. He commented obsessively on local newspaper threads, particularly the Fresno Bee, demanding investigations. But as expected, silence roared back. Most people dismissed his claims. Some called him paranoid. Others thought he was just another bitter man with too much time and a fragile mind. But John Lang wasn't afraid to be mocked. He feared something else. Retaliation. When the stares from parked cars turned into slow, deliberate drive-bys outside his modest home, John began to document. He created a YouTube channel and began uploading clips, raw, unedited, terrifying in their stillness. The first video was simple. A white pickup truck, nondescript, but slow-moving, rolled past his house once. Then again. No plates visible, no purpose evident. Then came the hang-up calls. Multiple, no voices, just breathing. He wrote it all down. The second video showed a man with a dog. Nothing sinister on the surface, just a neighborhood stroll. But John's dog reacted strangely, ran up to the gate. The man lingered, watched, waited, then left. John wrote in the description that he believed the stranger was conditioning his dog, familiarizing himself for a future visit, a more violent one. When he found 20 minutes of footage missing from his system the next day, he didn't just feel paranoia. He smelled it. He smelled it on his doorknob, now slightly loosened. He felt it in the tension of his chest as he swept his home for signs of forced entry. The system wasn't malfunctioning, he said. It was being tampered with. That night, he barely slept, and yet Nothing prepared him for what came next. In what would become his most infamous recording, a dark-colored minivan pulled to the curb across from his house. A side door slid open with machine-like smoothness. A man in civilian clothing exited, holding what John believed to be a thermal imaging camera. The lens tilted slowly toward John's windows. The man stood there, scanning, not hiding, not hurrying. Then, without a word or sign, he slid the door shut and drove away. John Christopher Lang officially reported it to Internal Affairs. The result? Silence again. But now the fear began to fester into terror. He started receiving more visits. Strangers pacing in front of his house, never knocking, never acknowledging his presence, even when he stood at the window watching. They would look around, text someone, and leave. He believed they were gathering intel, testing his response times, checking if he was home. In one chilling clip, he documented a midnight barrage. Sirens screamed up and down the street. Police cruisers lingered outside his house. Lights off, engines running. It wasn't an emergency. It was psychological warfare. Then, something stranger happened. Two neighbors, men he barely knew, invited him into their home one evening. Something about the tone, the urgency, made him feel cornered. But curiosity and fear of escalating tensions forced his steps forward. Inside, the air felt heavy. Conversations felt scripted. When he tried to leave, they blocked him. Their friendliness dissolved into firm insistence. He had to push past them. As he did, he saw one of them text rapidly. The other called out his name, loudly. As he reached his own front door, the lock had been tampered with. His printer moved. His computer still warm. That same week, multiple uniformed officers gathered under the streetlight outside his home. They didn't approach. They didn't question. They just stood, watching, waiting. Lang filmed it, uploaded it, called it a silent threat. In another clip, a figure can be seen attempting to break into Lang's vehicle. The movements are deliberate, purposeful. Not a teenager on a joyride. This was someone experienced, someone trained. His final upload was the most cryptic. A carpet cleaning van parked across the street. No cleaning done. No equipment unloaded. Just a man staring. Lang called it out online. He told everyone to remember the van. He believed the end was coming. His Facebook became frantic. His posts shifted from anger to desperation. "If anything happens to me," he wrote, "it's the Fresno Police Department. I have never lied." He'd begged friends to stay the night. No one came. On January 17th, 2016, neighbors noticed smoke rising from Lang's property. Firefighters responded quickly, but something stopped them. The front door was barricaded from the inside. They broke it down. The fire wasn't widespread, contained, intentional. They found John Christopher Lang's body inside. He wasn't just dead, mutilated. The first coroner's report noted multiple pierced wounds to the chest and back. But that wasn't the cause of death. Lang had died of asphyxiation, suffocation, his lungs filled with smoke, while his body bled. Then came the twist. 2 Fresno police officers were present at his autopsy. Standard procedure, they said. But when the final report was released, the narrative changed. The pierced wounds were self-inflicted. The back wounds vanished. The death was ruled a self-unalive. No follow-up investigation. No retraction. The city moved on. But the internet didn't. Sleuths began dissecting every video, every post. That carpet cleaning van? The business didn't exist. Fake number. Fake address. The logo was fabricated. More anomalies emerged. Phone records showed Lang called his ex-wife several times the night of the fire. She didn't answer. No messages were left. Neighbors reported screams before the fire. Those reports were buried. A petition to reopen the case reached tens of thousands of signatures. It still exists, but no progress has been made. To this day, Some insist John Christopher Lang was paranoid, mentally unstable, a man obsessed with a fantasy that consumed him. But others argue he was a whistleblower, silenced in the most brutal, public, and terrifying way possible. One thing is certain, his death was not peaceful, and his warnings were not vague. He left behind a digital trail, a haunting archive of fear, isolation, and desperation. Every frame he filmed feels heavier now. Every silent vehicle, every shadowed figure, every passing glance. They all seem to say the same thing. He knew. Whether it was a well-coordinated psychological campaign or the unraveling of a deeply paranoid man, one fact cuts through the haze: his footage, his final words, and his death form a chilling puzzle with pieces that never quite fit. John Christopher Lang's security camera didn't just record moments. It recorded warnings. It recorded a man slowly being erased, first from public credibility, then from breath, then from memory. The footage remains online, and with every view, the legend deepens. A man who believed the truth would save him. A man who died surrounded by it. And all that's left now, echoing between frames and silence, is the chilling question no one can answer with certainty. Did John Lang uncover a conspiracy so dark that it cost him everything? Or did he descend into darkness trying to escape ghosts he imagined? Either way, someone watched him pass away. Someone stood outside his home that night, cigarette in hand, eyes fixed on a man preparing for death. And someone made sure no one would ever get the full story. You've heard the timeline. Now it's your turn. What do you think happened to John Lang? Drop your theories in the comments. And if you want more real-life stories that uncover the shadows behind the headlines, subscribe now, because the truth isn't just stranger than fiction, it's more dangerous.